It's called Advanced Answering Techniques. So it is three professional people explaining to other people how to answer different questions, a multiple variety of questions. Advanced Answering Techniques.
Hello and welcome to Advanced Answering Techniques. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Josh. This is a podcast where we take user/listener questions and then we answer them in definitive ways that are irrefutable and final. I'm joined by two other co-hosts, and I'm going to introduce them with their answers to the following question. There's a knock at the door. You have no idea who it is because the heavy oak door is closed, and you cannot see through oak or other woods. When you open the door, you're able to see who was knocking. It's the president with whom it always seemed you could get a beer. This president asks if you're available to go get a beer. The president looks very hopeful. He looks like a scientist who believes he's just about to discover a heretofore unknown bone. Sadly, you have to inform the president that you cannot have a beer with him. Your face looks very disappointed, like a scientist who has just found an elusive but previously discovered bone. The president's face also looks disappointed, but more like a senator who's being blackmailed by Israel. Why can't you have a beer with this president?
For me?
Caleb, I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
Just took me a second. Go ahead, Caleb.
I don't drink.
Yeah. So you're just like, sorry, I don't drink.
Yeah.
He's like, well, maybe he's like, well, you just want to go hang out and I'll have a beer, says the president.
No, I mean, I don't drink at all. I don't drink anything.
Well, you could, the president says, you could just go and sit there, maybe have a chicken wing.
I have some other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not eating chicken right now, and I'm sitting is the new smoking.
Right. And I'm actually, that's a good point. Maybe you're actually so thirsty that you can't go.
Yeah, I start to just kind of fall apart in front of him.
Yeah.
As I'm talking to him and making these excuses,
Right.
my tongue cleaves to the roof of my mouth and actually goes straight through the top of my head.
It doesn't just cleave to the roof of your mouth. It cleaves your actual head.
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, bad use of the word "to."
No, I thought it was brilliant. That is super interesting. But ultimately, you are just kind of also. It sounds like making excuses. You don't really want to do this. Is that right?
Yeah,
You just didn't really want to do it.
I mean, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah. Gabe is another one of the co-hosts. Gabe, well, what's your answer?
I'm busy.
Busy.
I have something going on.
Yeah.
Bowling with the vice president.
That's good. That's a weekly thing?
I mean, we didn't confirm that it was happening, but it almost always happens Tuesday night.
Wait. Like, you go to the bowling alley and then he's there and you're
Or
just
is
like,
it-
well, we
It's
might
just
as
kind
well.
of a standing
Yeah.
date. Like, it's not like, hey, you bowling tonight? Like, do you want to go bowling tonight? It's like, I'm going to be at the bowling alley. VP's at the bowling alley. We're bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go to the bowling alley on
And there
Tuesday
he
night
is.
and there he is.
Right. But I don't want to disappoint VP.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to be there. He's going to expect me to be there, even though we've not talked about it at all.
Yeah.
Maybe if I show up at the bowling alley, VP's not there, maybe I text P and I go get a beer with P.
Right.
Yeah. You be with P.
You're down with P.
Either
Maybe.
way. Either way.
Maybe.
Either you're
Maybe.
going to be with VP
And-
or you're going to get a B with P.
And maybe I'll ask the president if he wants to come in. He can have a beer while VP and I bowl.
Yeah. But he's not invited to
Yeah.
bowl.
He's not invited to bowl. No. It'll slow the game down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole other turn.
Yeah.
It's nice to just go head-to-head 1v1.
Do you
Yeah,
guys
one-
share one lane?
No, we We bowl solo games on adjacent lanes.
I mean, that's
compare
completely
scores.
Yeah, reasonable.
I mean, that way we
What-
can go at the same time.
Is he using bees on his lane?
Is he using beers on his lane?
No, bumpers, obviously.
No. Well, we each get to pick which side of the other one's lane. We get to pick one side that has bees on it.
Oh, whoa.
Hold on.
Yeah.
VP's using bees?
It's the only way he knows how to be.
We've got a lot to get to today, guys. We have a question from, well, not one of the big three, but someone who is certainly in the audio that we have for them is trying to make a case for their importance in the podcast.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Hey guys, what's up? It's the Wet Lime Gang CEO, Mr. James Rat. It's Steven. Not to get political, but we've seen some goofy antics from presidents recently. I saw George W. Bush at a funeral give Barack Obama a little belly tap while walking past him. Enjoyed that. So I guess my question would be, of all the old presidents, what kind of old president would you want to be? The silly old guy, the serious old guy, the old guy who makes a lot of money, old guy who dies? There's a lot of options. Thanks.
Big question from Wet Lime Gang CEO, Steven. I don't remember the James Rat. Do you remember?
I have no idea what that is. I
Jim
think
Rat.
Oh, Jim Rat.
Jim Rat.
Good.
That's right, because he's, I believe, becoming Shredward Scissorhands at the gym.
Yeah.
Wait.
Shredward Scissorhands.
Okay.
What?
I mean, a guy, I guess, let me collect my thoughts.
Okay, well, you
It
do
could
that.
be. It could be. Winnie the Pooh's proper name is. You know what that is.
It's, yeah.
So it could. Maybe you could be Shredward Bear.
Shredward Bear. I mean, that's a good one. I couldn't come up with a pun for the scissor hands part
That's the thing. I was like,
on the fly.
so it's just a really strong man with scissor hands?
Yeah, it's
Like Edward doesn't seem the part that you make the pun on. I mean, look, and it's, hey, I am guilty of, making a pun on the wrong part of a name sometimes, for sure. But I don't know what I would do with the prompt of Edward Scissorhands,
if I knew knew the name of
I
any
got one,
exercise. What is it?
Edward Scissor Lift Hands.
Okay, but you missed the first part. And scissor lift is like construction.
Yeah, but he's using that to lift.
So, okay.
Hold on. So he's going to the gym, but he's bringing a scissor lift, and then he's putting the weights on the scissor lift and operating the scissor lift.
No, it's like that's what he calls lifting because he's got
Oh.
He's
scissor,
got scissor
hands.
hands. Okay. What about this?
There's a whole lore.
Can I run this by you?
Yeah.
Shredward dumbbell hands.
It's great.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Good job, Gabe.
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
No, don't apologize. It's awesome.
We need to deal with Steven's question, which is, what kind of an old former president would you be? Do you think? Four.
He gives us four options.
He gives us four.
I mean, I
options,
think we can
yeah.
go
Caleb,
off board.
I think we
but
can too.
Caleb
There-
held up
yeah.
for the listener. He held up his hand with 4 fingers outstretched, indicating 4. So who's the 4th president? I don't know.
I mean, it was John Adams.
Who was the
He's
second
he's
president?
in there.
It was the second president, Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Okay,
Second.
Jefferson and then Adams.
It might be Adams.
My
might have been
kids
third.
could tell us.
Yeah.
But I cannot.
That the one week we don't have your kids in the room.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
one thing that we need to kind of talk about is we had a question a little while back about how you become the best, right? And Stephen hasn't really been competing there in terms of frequency, which is, I would say, it's definitely how we've determined the big three is frequency, right? But Stephen had a really strong showing here.
Absolutely.
With a song, with like a hype man kind of song at the very top.
It was definitely a wrestling play,
Yes,
I think.
definitely. He's learned some excellent lessons from the WEF. And is that right? WEF?
Listen, it really doesn't matter to
Isn't
me
it
at all.
WW or
I thought it's WWE
It's like
WWE, I think that's what it is.
because I think it used to be.
Yeah. World Economic Foundation is what I was just thinking. WEF. Forum.
Yeah,
Is what
yeah.
I was thinking. Anyway.
Speaking of presidents,
Yeah. And so this is an example of someone kind of having that confidence, coming out really strong there and impressing the heck out of me.
Yeah.
For sure. And having kind of a litany of titles at the beginning, super helpful.
right? Which actually they do that in WEF.
Yeah.
They have the hype man music with all the titles, sort of
And then,
as the introductions
yeah.
for the panel speakers.
Yeah.
And things like
Klaus Schwab's various
Right.
epithets.
that.
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And some of those would be
Yeah, I don't
He always has that one more. How do you like him?
how do you like them? How do you
Yeah.
like them? Bugs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta eat
Yum,
them.
you
I
gotta
don't
eat-
have to eat them. I'll have steak. You eat some bugs now. You eat some bugs now. Yeah.
Meal, worms.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Snow piercer. Basically. That's basically what we're at.
There's a real problem in our nation and our culture of sort of wealth inequality. And we like to talk about that a lot on the show.
As you can see, we're having this.
It's hard to hold back sort of the floodgates once
Just
it comes up.
sparkling conversation after that cue of
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, comparing. It would be kind of fun to compare wealth.
against what?
Other people, my wealth against
Oh,
other
I
people's
see.
Yeah,
wealth,
yeah.
and not just the money.
Well, yeah, kind of get your health in there too.
Hey, I love
Because
it.
health is wealth. Did you know that? Did you know that?
I'm actually just learning that now, and it's weirdly enough, it was from a notification on my phone and not from you.
That's why you were looking at your phone.
That makes sense. Any initial reaction to this? I think it's easy for me. I think I'd probably just be. I think if I was to become president, it would be really late in life, and I think I would be so tired at the end of it that I would die soon after I was no longer president. I think so. I would probably just be the one who dies. One of those.
Old president.
Old president who dies at the end.
After being president, though.
After having been president, not
having-
while being president.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, I guess.
Okay. Interesting.
So-
So can you name one of them that did that?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
McKinley.
I mean, there's a lot of they really do go out to pasture pretty and decline pretty quick. But I'm not saying I would be one of those guys. That's just my style.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I believe it's McKinley. I could
yeah.
be mistaken, but I believe McKinley was a very elderly man when he ran for president,
Yeah.
and everyone was saying, "You're too old, you're too weak, you're gonna die. Don't be president." And to prove that he was vital,
Sure.
he went out and did a speech in the cold. And it was like a rousing speech, but he got pneumonia. and he had pneumonia throughout his entire presidency and died within months
After he finished.
after he became
Oh no!
president.
But see, Caleb, that is not what I would do. I would do the whole presidency, but
Okay.
I would be so worn out and tired that I would just die.
Okay,
within a
so
couple
you
months
did land on that
after I
Okay.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would. I'm open to dying during it too. It's not.
And you said he got pneumonia.
Yeah.
What did he do with his old pneumonia?
It had worn out. It had worn out, and it just wasn't. It wasn't working anymore.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's, it was no longer cleaning the way that he wanted
Gotcha.
that ammonia to actually be a serviceable agent for cleaning up messes.
Yes. Yeah, it had
Sticky,
lost its
gross messes.
it had lost its verve,
Yeah.
as
Vitality.
liquids do.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did see an ad and said pneumonia. And he snapped some of that pneumonia up.
Oh yeah.
New look, same great taste.
I was about to say a word, but
What was the word?
well, I'm not going to say it.
Oh.
Yum.
Gosh.
We did decide at the beginning, like before we started recording, we decided that one of the banned words, we kind of go over a list of banned words at the beginning. And one of the banned words this week was yum. And now Gabe and I have both said it. So,
But that's it. That's the only time we'll say it.
guys, what would your president styles be?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to become president,
Mhm.
and then I'm going to get extremely fat, and I'm going to get in a tub,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm not going to be able to get out of the tub
Yeah.
without help.
So you'd kind of do like the Baron Harkonnen style presidency.
Well, there's a real president who did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Garfield.
I believe
Oh,
it's
I
Garfield.
think it's Garfield. I don't know.
that's a
Or
cat.
was it Chester A. Arthur? I don't remember.
that's a
It was a
cheat.
big one. Yeah, this Garfield
Yeah.
definitely loved lasagna.
I feel bad because last week we did have a major error on the podcast where I said that private investigators could take pictures of people in their homes. They definitely cannot. That's illegal. You can't surveil someone when they're in their home. Once they leave their home, you're allowed to. But
Like right on their doorstep.
I think so. I think I'm not exactly sure. There's probably, but I shouldn't even say because I made such a horrible error.
I made an error last week too.
Okay.
I said tetragrammatron.
You did, but I chose to just keep going.
I know.
And not.
I would have appreciated
It-
a correction
It
because
seemed like something that you might have just kind of tripped on a little bit because I can totally see myself saying just not meaning to say that.
what
and
is
saying-
funny about that though is that if you arrange the Hebrew letters,
Mm-hmm.
they do make a man.
Yeah, you're saying that would be like Tron.
Voltron.
Like,
Like Voltron. You put the letters together. I see.
So it's actually not wrong, and I actually rescind my correction.
Right, because you weren't talking about the letters. You were talking like the name of God. You were
Right.
talking about what happens when you put these letters together in a certain way. That does make a little guy we call Tetragrammatron.
Exactly.
so fat in a tub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
so
going to
this is-
prefer butter to be used to get me out.
Okay, and so one thing that I just want to point to that I feel like we're missing in the question is that Stephen very specifically said that this is like kind of an old president, like a former president. So this is kind of what you're doing with the rest of your life after you've been president. This is kind of that category
Okay, well then
but
that's fine. I just
I don't think it has
Yeah,
to change
I just-
particularly, but that was
There's just a news story. Former President Caleb Stevenson had to be removed from a tub with butter.
yeah.
Oh, so that's what he's been up to.
And yeah, and of course, at a certain point, you no longer have the control over the media that you might exert in other
Right.
situations, and you can't prevent them from running with that story.
If I had my druthers, it happens once while I am president. And then it happens again
Right.
after my presidency.
And maybe maybe the second time.
no one knows about the first one.
But maybe the second time you're like, I did take a lot of effort to squash that story the first time, and maybe you've been kind of sitting around at home, getting a little bored, a little lonely, feeling left out of the limelight, and so you're like, you know what? what really would have caught the public's eye previously was that story that we suppressed, and so then you sort of re-engineer that same situation again.
Right. I do. But I'm also head of the task force to reveal, like the suppressed story.
So that was a task force.
The like embarrassing stories about presidents. It's not important to. It's not important to the intelligence agency or the revealing corruption or anything like that. It's just like sort of embarrassing things that presidents have done that have been like.
This is a perfect lead into something that I wrote this week. I think that if sharp-eared listeners will recall, during the glowing hour days, a certain character, President Timothy Stick, who I believe made some appearances. This is a piece of writing about him. President Timothy Stick got to be so old. This was after he'd had like 6 terms in office. And just to clarify, he didn't like suspend elections or violate any existing laws because they actually had a popular vote to change some of the biggest laws and to let him keep being president a bunch of times. And he wasn't pushing for them to do that either. His attitude was kind of like, whatever, if that's what you guys want. And he'd had a lot of assassination attempts. For instance, he got shot in the ear, but the bullet crumpled on his ear and it dropped down. He caught it and he winged it back at the assassin and it ripped through the assassin's throat. And the blood shot about 30 feet in the air, and no one had ever seen anything like it. And even the very biased mainstream media was like, dang, dude. But now Timothy Stick was super old. His friend Brad Pitt came over, and they were talking about old times. Like some of the times he was in the other countries where the people eat disgusting food. Not even disgusting in a cute way, just trash. Timothy Stick, the president of the United States, back then didn't care. He could eat trash. It wasn't no big deal to him. Did he like eating trash? Like doesn't play any part in it. He liked eating delicious steaks and drinking about 7 beers, but when you become president, you make certain concessions. Timothy Stick, when he would go into one of the other countries, would tell his cabinet and his aides, it's no problem, I'll eat the trash. Part of the reason to eat the trash and not make a big deal about it is that you gain the respect of your entourage when you do this. You should never make the mistake of forgetting that you want the entourage to love you. When you're president, you want the entourage to be on your side. And the entourage is like, the press and security and everybody that's kind of like traveling around with you.
Turtle.
Oh,
yeah.
Ari. Because that way, if you do something slightly embarrassing, like decide to go ahead and have 2 burritos instead of the recommended single burrito, and then the Air Force One bathroom doesn't provide you with the level of containment that it probably should, being a president's bathroom, they won't tell people about it. So does that make sense? It's something embarrassing happens due to numbers of burritos eaten, and then these guys, your entourage, won't actually tell people about it. Maybe they'll only tell their wives, but probably only on their deathbeds as a treat right before their wives die. Anyway, Timothy Stick and Brad Pitt were hanging out, smoking cigarettes and drinking straight Everclear with a little bit of some of the stuff that Joaquin Phoenix made in The Master. And Brad Pitt asked, do you ever miss it? And Timothy Stick said, it was cool while it lasted, and now I can do what I really like doing, incredible feats of memory. Even though he should have been senile with a completely destroyed brain, Timothy Stick memorized an entire pack of playing cards in a single minute. Brad Pitt checked him on it. He'd gotten it completely perfect. Thank you.
A whole pack of playing cards.
Yeah, he memorized the order of a whole pack of playing cards.
Okay.
Like one of those memory feats.
Okay.
was
So
gonna
he
say,
had
'cause,
to
like-
get the order, because I could probably rattle off a whole pack of playing cards.
Yeah.
No,
Ace
I'm sorry.
of spades,
that
king of
does-
spades, queen of spades.
Right. It would. It's not.
Brad Pitt's like, hold on.
You're going too fast.
I'm an actor, not a magician.
He's pretended to be good with cards before, though.
That's true.
It's really true.
Yeah.
I had a question.
Please.
You said that the general made some concessions, and I was just wondering, what were they? What delicious concessions? President
A hot dog, nachos.
What delicious? You said they have to make
Well,
concessions.
when you
right?
become the president, you make certain concessions, not the general.
right.
I don't know where this general came from that you were talking about.
General.
Yeah, you said the
You said
general. made
I think
some
you might have meant
Oh, wow.
president.
Yeah, no, you clearly meant president.
I
I'm sorry.
clearly meant that. Well, let me think if I did. Definitely meant president. Yeah. So, like, when you become president, did you say that you have to, or you do?
make
You just do.
certain- You make
So, what concessions? As soon as you're sworn in, now you have to go make some concessions.
coconut and shave ice.
A bad pretzel.
Heat up some frozen pretzels. Corn dogs.
Okay, that clears that up. I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I could have probably just inferred that, but I'm glad to have confirmation.
So, Gabe, you absolutely need a chance to tell us what kind of old president you would be.
I mean, listen, I have an interest in art, and I think it's really inspiring. George W. Bush did
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a famous artist after being president.
Deborah Bush, he has become
Yeah.
a significant artist.
Yeah, so probably something like that.
Yeah. You would become like a painter specifically. You would devote yourself to painting.
I mean, I hadn't really thought about the medium.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if you did something like performance art, like improv everywhere.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. What if after I'm president, I join Whose Line Is It Anyway?
As one of the cast members.
They would be-
Yes.
Yes, but instead of Colin, so he can't.
Yeah.
I take his place.
Well,
I
you
like
don't
that.
want that kind of competition.
No.
Yeah. It's a and they would be glad. They would clearly be glad to have you. You're a former
Right.
president.
And it'll be a lot easier after Colin mysteriously passes away. Like it's
Right.
a no-brainer at that point. We'll get the old president in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Colin's dead. Okay, we'll get on the phone to the old president.
Yeah.
How did he die? What?
And that becomes, and years later, that becomes a pretty significant controversy. And there are people who are promising to deliver the redacted information about the Colin tapes.
Yeah.
About how the president called
Colin
the staff of Whose Line Is It Anyway and said, if Colin ever dies,
What kind of chance do I have? Is there an audition process?
surprisingly, no.
No. It's just
Not if you're the president.
anyone who calls is in.
Oh, it doesn't even matter.
Well,
if
that's
it's
where
the
he got
president.
his name. The dead guy.
Yeah.
He didn't have a name. Called Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
And then they said, you're hired. What's your name?
Colin.
Do you guys remember when our brother Solomon? We have a number of brothers, various Stevenson brothers, and sometimes they correspond to different aspects of the question. And you guys remember when our brother Solomon was running for city council, and he asked us to sort of oversee his campaign. That was kind of what that was like one of my closest brushes with power, like this. And you guys remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't go all that well, and I thought that we bore some responsibility.
Well, now you're sounding like Solomon.
Yeah,
He kept saying, "You lost this election. You lost me this election. You lost me this
yeah,
election."
yeah. Well, and I thought he was right. I thought there were just things that we could have done better, or maybe things
Like
that we
what?
should not have done at all.
Like what?
I personally, I will bear the responsibility for this, but this is primarily because Solomon had proposed a lot of like city legislation
Right.
that was specifically targeting me. I didn't really want him to be on the city council.
Yeah, and there was a sense in which we all felt that maybe you were undermining his chances a little bit.
Surprised that he was
Yeah.
making these overt,
Yeah.
what seemed to be. I mean, I guess they were somewhat subtle in some ways, but I took them as definitely
Not
targeting
everybody
me.
knew all the stuff that you were up to
Yeah,
that some of this legislation would have prevented.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Like a curfew, certain kinds of curfews.
Yes, for certain people.
Yeah.
It wasn't based on race, just on class.
It was based on class and a little bit about like which part of the city you lived in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Yes.
couldn't.
Third graders in this part of
Yeah,
the city
That's right.
have to be in bed.
All the
Have to be home. Can't be outside.
Yeah.
8 p.m. lights out for the frosh in the southwest of town.
Yes.
Yeah. Frosh being third grade. Frosh being the third.
No,
grade.
the third
Oh.
graders were included, and then the frosh.
Oh yeah. It's kind of a two-tiered approach.
Right, you had to. Yeah, there's sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
a matrix. That
There's
you
an
had to-
Excel sheet.
Right.
It is not simple.
No.
It was very complicated, but that's not why it failed.
The complexity was only part of it. It was hard to message.
This wasn't Solomon's thing. This was something I had just devised that then he was proposing legislation to ever keep it from my thing happening.
Right. So he was like, we don't want those kinds of. We're going to prevent curfews that are. And people would generally just be like, "Is that really a problem?"
Yeah.
And
Well,
he
have you
had to-
seen my brother's private Excel sheet?
It was a major problem because there was so much hypothetical. If this person is ever able to get it, he was running on a campaign that was if someone gains political power and is able to pass these kinds of code changes,
Yeah.
we need to have already.
Yeah, some of the critics levied, arguments against his campaign as like a parfait of hypotheses. Okay, well, there's a lot of things that could hypothetically happen that we don't have laws about.
Right. Yeah. Right. And in some ways that helps to keep us free is to not over legislate.
Right. And that's sort of why I was doing what I was doing, to kind of make that point.
To make that point. Yeah, to we should have fewer. You were advocating laws that then Solomon was reacting to, but that did help to really raise awareness about the importance of sort of a small government
Yes.
libertarian attitude.
Right.
Anything else that we really need to deal with in Stephen's question? What kind of old presidents would we be? I would be the kind that just dies. Caleb would be the kind that gets stuck in a bathtub for attention.
Gabe would be the kind that joins the cast of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yeah.
Anyway.
That'd be the funny one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny old president.
Funny old president, which I think if we're looking at, exactly the example that Stephen brought up, George W. Bush, just kind of a silly old man that nobody takes seriously. And it does seem like kind of the best possible thing that you could do. You have nothing, you've attained such a height that
Right.
what's the rest of your life really going to be like?
Yeah. You sort of peak at being responsible for like 1 million people dying. in war.
Exactly.
And then where do you go? Where do you go from?
Where do
there?
you go from there?
Yeah. And you're going to have like pretty strict rules about what jokes can be made at your expense on whose line is it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Nothing about shoes.
Yeah.
I don't even want to hear a joke about a shoe. Somebody threw one at me once.
Right.
He's very easily triggered by shoe jokes. Well, I think that all makes sense.
It makes sense that we did it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, describe that a little more.
It just makes sense that we did all of this stuff.
Now I understand.
If you'd like us to treat your questions this way, you can send them to advancedansweringtechniques@gmail.com. We're looking for a question, an audio file about a minute in length. Send those along, and we'll be happy to deal with them. Anything else we need to deal with right here at the end? It could be anything, not just about Stephen's question.
Why
but-
didn't Ben Franklin become president?
Yeah, I have no info. It seems crazy. He's on money, but he was never president.
Right.
There's not very. I don't. Are there any others like that? Like any others of that sort?
Sacagawea.
Sacagawea. She's on. Yeah, but that wasn't. That
Is that
wasn't-
even real money?
Wasn't really real. She was on what? She was on a penny.
No, dollar coin.
Dollar coin.
Which
Okay.
is-
Yeah.
The art aside,
Right.
great idea. I like the dollar coin idea.
Absolutely.
Just didn't take.
Yeah.
Nope. Didn't take.
It was now maybe a $5 coin would make sense. I think.
And who's on
Just
it?
because of
Do
inflation.
we put Abe on there too?
We put Abe or Sarah Palin.
I
Okay.
think it should be what it should be is
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, no, sorry. You
Well,
said
Sarah-
Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin.
What?
Well, she's like Sacagawea was not a president.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, she's a woman who was not a president. And I think what the form of it should be a coin that is like the amount of $5 in quarters stacked. Sort of like a money rod.
So it's 20 quarters.
So it's basically 20 quarters that are all connected to each other that have the disadvantage of not being able to be separated into individual quarters.
So,
Right.
okay.
Right. It's like a tall coin, I guess you could call it.
Okay, I like that. What if one side is Abe Lincoln while he's watching the play, and then and then the other side is him after he's done watching the play?
Bye.
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 What does anybody do about the end? But especially when there's so much of the end stretching out in front of you. Can you let yourself off the hook? Go get a ghostwriter to write a mediocre book. But they'll never get behind the eyes inside the puzzled look. Oh, thin it out till there's hardly a stream. Oh, thin it out, not a clan, just a very special kind of a freak. I've been there, yeah, I've been there a long time. Oh, I've been there, yeah, I've been there a long time. I've been there a long time. I've been there a long time, a long time, long time. I can paint, I can get on a plane, but what I want you to do is I want you to try it for a day. I'd like to see you try it for a day. Yeah.
Bye.